Fondation Jean-Jaurès.
Penser pour agir.
The Western Balkans have been in the antechamber of the European Union for quite some time now. Next year, we will celebrate the 20 years of the Thessaloniki Declaration, and we could rightly wonder how long will it take for the countries of the region to join the EU. The question has been haunting a whole generation of youngsters from the Western Balkans. They were born as future EU citizens, and they remain to date future EU citizens. The reasons for this ordeal are multiple and complex. The EU has been struggling to find the right approach to the region, and it has revised its accession policy several times, lastly in 2021. But another reason, which has undermined progress constantly, has been the persistence of bilateral disputes in the region. It is a topic in which France has signaled interest and willingness to engage. We will today focus on some of these disputes together with Alejandro Esteso Pérez. Alejandro, you are political analyst and fellow at the Kosovo Foundation for Open Society. I am Florent Marciaq, director of the Observatory des Balkans at the Fondation Jean-Jaurès. Good morning, Alejandro.
Hi, Florent. Good morning. It's very nice to be here.
Alejandro, let us start with a bilateral issue that apparently has been solved. In 2018, North Macedonia solved its naming issue with Greece by signing the Prespa agreements. Greece lifted its veto, North Macedonia joined NATO, and we thought that it would make the swift progress towards the EU. But then Bulgaria stopped North Macedonia over another issue related to culture and history, an issue that had nothing to do with the accession policy. To find a way out, France has facilitated the conclusion of an agreement, and Bulgaria has now lifted its veto. So in appearance, that's good news. But the agreement comes to certain costs. How do you assess the situation, Alejandro?
Well, I think overall, this is a very solid proof of how, even if successful, how fragile the whole enlargement process and these whole dynamics turn out to be. As you said, the agreement with Greece was a definite breakthrough in this process. And then when we thought that it was all going to be, let's say, an open path for Skopje, well, it turns out that now we are encountering this blockade from Bulgaria on purely domestic grounds, or purely, well, a conflict or a dispute that can be summarized or just based on purely, bilateral terms. The role here of France as let's say as a facilitator was very timely in the sense that it had the power. Paris had the power to intervene in this sense and to help mediate and find a solution. It had been happening with Germany during its presidency, for instance, which came to no success in the end. However, what France has unfortunately helped craft and helped push through is a very unsatisfactory agreement whose consequences we will end up seeing, or we will be seeing very, very soon. I mean, this agreement, besides being completely, let's say, opaque and non-transparent and not been shown or showcased or explained to the public at all, it really doesn't cover or doesn't deliver for the Macedonian people. What I mean here is, as you perfectly know, any step that North Macedonia might want to take in its negotiations towards the EU, which are now open, for which there is now a clear open space, Bulgaria will be able to step in and just again block and place its veto. So there is now a problem of where do we stand and what are the prospects. I think it's very simple and very clear to say that there's not a very clear perspective for North Macedonia after having passed this agreement with Bulgaria. What I mean mostly here is that on the one hand, it's going to need to reform its constitution, for which it doesn't have the support in parliament. We already saw back in 2018, before the agreement after actually the agreement with Greece, that the numbers in the Macedonian Assembly were also not enough, but was still pushed through in, of course, a very shady way as well. So all this experience just teaches us that, you know, this assembly does not have the numbers. So that is one of the issues in the sense of when are these constitutional changes going to be enacted and passed. And it's not going to be very easy. And on the other hand, we have an aching government that is completely weakened and has lost all legitimacy. So all in all, I think we have a very bleak situation overall.
Mm-hmm. So the agreement is just on very short term, allowing North Macedonia and Albania to open negotiations, but it's not removing future obstacles, and it's not removing this vulnerability of North Macedonia in this respect. Alejandro, you have been working in Pristina for some time. In the past couple of weeks, there has been tensions at the border with Serbia. So Serbia still considers Kosovo as its province, almost 15 years after Kosovo declared its independence. There is a dialogue. It's facilitated by the EU to normalize relations between the two parties or countries. But we do not see any very convincing breakthrough despite the announcements of historical agreements here and there. What are the prospects, according to you, for achieving some kind of lasting solution to this issue, and how do you assess the role of the EU there?
Well, the issue of the dialogue, which, as you know, has been going on for a few years now, it has had its ups and downs, and it has had its small breakthroughs and its small successes. I would say that the recent deal reached around ID documents and this type of registration when crossing the borders between Serbia and Kosovo is a positive piece of news, in the sense that Kosovo can prove that their measures of reciprocity are working to a certain extent. So I think in this sense, it is a very important sign, and it's a very important encouragement for the government to still keep pursuing this type of approach. We still have a very important deadline, which is the 31st of October, when car plates issued by Serbia that belong to vehicles present in the territory of Kosovo, this includes the north of Kosovo, will have to change to fully Kosovo-issued car plates. So when the reason that I'm saying that this is a very important deadline is because this recent agreement in the framework of the EU dialogue has not covered this particular aspect. So we will need to see how this will translate as soon as the deadline is there, or has been not met. So we of course can expect a lot of tensions mounting and so on. Overall, the dialogue, if I need to make an assessment, it could be reaping more benefits than what it's actually currently doing. I think the EU has a very important but also a very complicated position. I think the view from Belgrade on the one hand is of course one that of course denies any type of autonomy or any type of independence of Kosovo, and President Vučić was very clear the other day at the special session of the assembly. There is no way that during his mandate he will push for recognition of Kosovo. And then on the other hand, of course, Pristina is requesting or is asking to be treated as an equal. So as long as this is not being fulfilled, this is excuse me, why Pristina is using these reciprocity measures. So this is the status currently.
But on that, the two parties, the two in Serbia and Kosovo, they are not on an equal footing. Serbia is internationally recognized; it has no statehood issues, so it has basically an interest in the status quo or raising somehow what is at stake there. For Kosovo, it's more difficult because it has to. So how do we put some balance or re-establish some balance in this asymmetry of negotiation between Kosovo and Serbia?
No, absolutely. I mean, it's very clear that Serbia here is the actor that has the upper hand, because it is in Serbia's hand to grant Kosovo that legitimacy, because of course many of the non-recognizers besides Serbia would change their position should Serbia recognize Kosovo, and I think Kosovo's path in many international organizations would be solved, including the UN and all these agencies and bodies. So we do have a problem here where Kosovo is the most affected by the status quo. In any case, it is true that the government itself, the government of Kosovo, has several times declared that the dialogue with Serbia is not a priority. What I read from this, from these words, is that Kosovo, as well as Serbia, can develop politically, economically, or in social terms without an agreement. And this is, I mean, there's a lot of issues in Kosovo, in Serbia, that have to do, for instance, with judicial independence or addressing corruption that can be done without an agreement with a counterpart. So I think that it really depends on the read that we want to make. How important really is the dialogue, and I think that the view from Pristina is that it is not as necessary. It comes as let's say as an administrative stage, but it's not completely essential to thrive.
Kosovo might be applying for EU accession by the end of the year. Of course, the way the EU approaches this dialogue, it would be interesting to factor in this asymmetry so that the support given to Kosovo is not just the same as in Serbia, given the vulnerability of Kosovo. And you're talking precisely of non-recognizers. 5 countries of the EU, together with Serbia, together with Russia, China, and a couple of others, do not recognize the independence of Kosovo. The reluctance prevents the EU from having a substantive position on Kosovo, and it nurtures some kind of internal vulnerability of the EU in its foreign policy. Alejandro, you come from Spain. Do you think that the new geopolitical contexts, the needs to bolster European strategic autonomy, cohesion, unity in foreign policy, do you think that these create some space for more engagements, for more cooperation between the non-recognizers and Kosovo? Is it changing a little bit the game here?
Well, the perspective from Spain, which is of course the case that I know better, I do have to say that the attention currently is somewhere else. Of course, there is a bigger problem to address, and that's in terms of foreign policy, what Spain is busy with at the moment. I do see, however, a very big and generous window of opportunity that Spain should, in my opinion, take advantage of, and that is the presidency of the EU Council that Spain will be holding in the second half of 2023. What I mean with this is that, as you know, there's been a series of summits involving EU leaders and Western Balkans 6 leaders that have been happening on a yearly basis for a few years now. We had the summits in Bulgaria and Croatia and in Slovenia, and this year we're still expecting for the Czech Republic to host such a summit. So in this regard, I think Spain should be smart enough to know that they should be hosting this EU Western Balkans summit in 2023. In effect, this comes with a set of limitations, or with a set of caveats, because every time that Spain has been invited to one of these summits, where Kosovo was also present, it has either refused to attend or attend in under very, let's say, particular requirements, which is that national symbols such as flags or coats of arms should not be displayed. And this is something that Spain has requested on several occasions at summits where Kosovo leaders were present. In any case, I do think that Spain, if it knows how to play its cards well, I would say that should have the courage, the political courage, to engage with the Balkans, and especially with Kosovo from this perspective. And I think holding an EU Western Balkans summit in Madrid, for instance, in 2023 would send out a really solid message of commitment and of compromise with the countries, and could perhaps open the door to potential rapprochement with the authorities in Pristina.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alejandro, for sharing these thoughts, and thank you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Fondation Jean-Jaurès.
Penser pour agir.